And we are live here on Plus 20 XP's Roll for Content
Hey.
channel. My
Oh,
name is
hi.
Tony Vicente. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus 20 XP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy. And we are content champions here all around, no matter what our background class is. We love introducing people to indie RPGs, OSR content, other things. We do that in a lot of different ways, but one of my favorite ways is actually sitting down with the creators of those games and that content to talk to them about what they do. This is a couple folks whose work I've been a fan of for a long time. I'm very excited to sit down with them. Got introduced by our friend Levi Combs, and some of our good friends over at Exalted Funeral also too have recommended you guys stuff a lot to me also too. But we've got man, I can't even decide which way to go. We've got the Tiger Wizard and the Dragon Warrior with us, Andrew and Steve from Epic Levels. Andrew, Steve, why don't you tell people a little bit about who y'all are, what y'all do, and tell us about Epic Levels and what it's all about.
Wow, thank you. Thanks for having us on the show. We're really happy to be here.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, I'm Andrew, the Tiger Wizard. And what is Epic Levels? Wow, what a question. I guess Epic Levels, if I had to distill it into something easily digestible, it's me and Steve's passion for role-playing games and like an outpouring of our creative juices towards that. So we do.
What's your favorite creative juice? Yeah. What's your favorite creative juice?
Probably the gin, like a genie gin in juice.
Gin and juice. Love it. All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Steve,
when I lived in LA, I had a pomegranate tree in my front yard, and it was very fun to fight the birds for the pomegranate. So I'm going to go with pomegranate juice. Also, a good pomegranate seed can bring you to the underworld, maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's what I've heard too. So we do Dungeons and Dragons hip hop music. Which we've got a Kickstarter going for that right now for an album that's also a dungeon. So it's a C dungeon. It's a compact disc and compact dungeon, all in one sweet little artifact. And we also do a podcast where we create content for games. It's an improv style, kind of like writer's room thing. And then outside of that, we just love playing games. So, Steve, what did I miss? I'm sure there's something else.
There's tons of other stuff we do. So we do the Mad Dungeon podcast, which we release weekly, where we take a creator, like we've had Ed Greenwood, Keith Baker, all sorts of people like on the show to make a one-page adventure with us. Then I take and we do it improv style. And we create a villain, a hero, a MacGuffin. Then we create a location. I then take all of the things that we said to create an adventure and compact that into words. Andrew then is also an artist, which I don't think you said.
Yes. Let me just go ahead and say I am also an artist.
And fantastic illustrator. So he then takes this thing, draws everything out, the maps, characters from it, and then lays it all out, and then we give that out to the people. So music, maps, podcast. We also have merch on our site. Andrew also prints t-shirts for a lot of people in the RPG community. So
I'm sure it's printed by Andrew, I'm pretty sure. So
I'm sure. I'm actually wearing Mystic Punk. Shout out Mystic Punk's a shirt that he did. Also Exalted Funeral and RPG Friends.
Yeah, I think I did. I made a shirt for you for the
Exalted Funeral funeral camp. I got it my I was wearing it yesterday. I should have worn it today. Okay. What am I doing? And so
that one's that's my design as well as my print work.
Love it.
The little funeral camp.
Yeah, it is actually now like the default. If I go places and I'm meeting people from the Exalted Funeral community, they will wear that shirt. I went to St. Louis this weekend and saw Cassie Mothman. Shout out Cassie. Made sure she wore the shirt to our meetup in case I wouldn't recognize her face, since we had never met in person before also too. So it's a good kind of like shout out shirt for a lot of people in that community. So very excited about it. So y'all do a lot. I got to know first and foremost, before we even dive into how y'all got started playing each, how did y'all meet? Like, what was the original connection that got the Tiger Wizard and the Dragon Warrior into a party together?
Tony, those two stories are one and the same.
I thought they might be, so that's why I figured I'd ask this one first.
Yeah. So I moved from Chicago to Atlanta and started working in a coffee shop. And in that coffee shop, like I do everywhere I go, which is talk D&D, talk role-playing, so I find my community as fast as possible. Someone I worked with there was in a group. That group was run by this guy Josh was running a game. Took me aside. We went to a bar and made characters for his game. Then when I went to the game, there was Andrew already at the table, raring to go.
Resplendent in my glory.
Yeah. So we all play games. Like everyone at the group plays games, but me and Andrew were like on another level when it comes to like RPG stuff.
Would you say you were on an epic level?
I would say we were already at epic levels of RPG community things when we first met. So, I mean, I put out a lot of records before this, mostly like punk rock stuff. And I've always mentioned like D&D or RPG stuff in there. I've always thought about it as a communal kind of thing and just as countercultural as skateboarding or punk rock or anything else. So I've always like treated it that way and tried to bring people into the fold.
Skateboarding's mainstream, dude.
So is D&D, my bro.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so tell me, for each of you, like you mentioned, you at that point you were kind of already at, like you were super into this. This is a big part of who you were. You wanted to share it with people. You were excited to play. Let's do for each of you kind of like, what was your starting moment on your kind of RPG journey? Andrew, let's go to you first. Like, how did you get started playing? What was your introduction to the hobby? And then kind of how did it grow from there?
Sure. So from a very young age, I wanted to be a comic book artist. So when I was too young to be working in a comic book store, I got a job working in a comic book store. And that just sort of like what really did it for me actually was I was probably 11 or 12 years old. And the owner of this comic book store took me to Dragon Con. And my poor sheltered little mind just exploded with all of the stuff that I sort of was exposed to there. So that love sort of led into like a love of fantasy art. And through that, I started getting into miniature gaming, like miniature battle gaming, and Magic the Gathering. And then as you know, like these kind of hobbies, it's a slippery slope. Eventually, you're just gonna sink down into the pit of all you want to do is role play. And so it wasn't until I was probably a slightly older teenager in the 90s that I actually finally got to play some Dungeons and Dragons, and just been down there in the mire ever since.
Did you start 5th edition, 3rd edition, 3.5, awkwardly come in at 4th edition, be like, this is great. Oh, wait, no, I can't play this anymore. Where were you at?
So it was the first that I played was 3rd edition. So I came in at 3rd edition, and then actually I played in like maybe one game, and I was like, this is really cool. But the group that was playing that 3rd edition game were like a little bit too cool for me. I wasn't super. I mean, I wasn't as cool as I am now back then. Let me just say that.
You've grown into it.
Yeah. So I wasn't cool enough for them. So they're like, yeah. Like, you're just a little kid. Like, you don't know about dice and daggers. Get out of here.
Like, get out of here, dork. They're like, the
get out of here.
Dungeons and Dragons throwing you out.
So I found some other guys who were also not very cool that were doing some White Wolf games. So I played more White Wolf. My first introduction was 3rd edition, and then I ended up playing more regularly White Wolf games. And then it wasn't until like college and 3.5 had come out that I started back into playing Dungeons and Dragons again. And then I played 3.5. We did like the Pathfinder jump, right? So we skipped over 4th and did Pathfinder until 5th came out. And yeah, I play a lot of indie games now too. It's not just Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Cool. What's been one of your favorite indie games that you've been playing lately?
So I guess it's not technically indie, but
What is
I've been
indie?
playing in a Dungeon Crawl Classics game that I'm really enjoying, helping a friend of mine play test a new scenario.
Love it.
And yeah, I really enjoy the the old school vibe.
Yeah, I'm in my first regular DCC game now. Played a lot of funnels or one shots, and then now actually getting to sit down and play a campaign. Jarrett Crater is running a bunch of us through at lunch, just an hour every single week.
Shout out Jarrett.
It's been really good.
Shout out Jarrett.
And so Jarrett and I'll be back later tonight talking about Zine Month stuff and creating projects too. So it's a double stream day, and so. I'd love to hear from you in a second. We're going to hop over to Steve, come back. Kind of your favorite character moment in one of your campaigns. So think about it, search through the archives. I want to hear a little bit, Andrew, about what your favorite character moment is. Steve, same question for you there. How did you get started?
Yeah, so I was in high school, like first time I played any game at all, like similar to what I was saying, I got into like punk rock, skating, drugs, D&D all at the same time when high school, and played a second edition there on a one-shot kind of thing. And then I got a book, Mage, The Ascension, White Wolf again, like, and I ended up playing that a lot. It was the only like role-playing game book I had for a while, and didn't understand the rules, didn't understand how dice pools work. So we just rolled a like D10, like we roll a D20 in D20 games. But man, that was a lot of fun. And I do think it's good for people starting off to like maybe play in a like modern setting and have weird stuff happening, because it's very easy to, I think it's an easier get new people involved when they're not like, space aliens or half dragons or whatever.
Yeah, you get like those mental like handholds. You can be like, I know, like I played a game when I was living in Dallas that was set in an alternate low magic version of Dallas with a bunch of weird stuff happening in the background. It was great because literally we could be like, all right, you turn down the street, be like, what street are you on? And they'd be like, this street. And we'd be like, okay, we all know exactly where that is. And so we can just fill in the details mentally as we needed to. It was really great.
Yeah, man. And I've never played the Dresden Files RPG, but I've read it and I really want to. Like, I mean, it's been out for a while now, but one of the fun things in character creation in that game is exactly that. Because it's not just character creation, you also do city creation. And like, you normally want to like make the setting where you live. So part of character creation is also everyone choosing a place where something's happening. Like, oh, this open well that I knows. And I think about this in Atlanta. There's like this like street that has like a well and it's part of the park. And I'm like, oh, ghouls live in that well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you just like throw something in there.
And it becomes a fun little solo game when you're driving around and you find just weird little places. Like if you're at the library and there's this weird door on a wall that has a castle painted around it, you're like, what if you went through that door and it just transported you into a pocket dimension that was that castle? Like, what kind of shenanigans are you going to get up to? Cool. That's in my game now, and we're just doing it. Like that kind of stuff was always super fun about that as well. So very cool. So got into Mage, got into some other stuff. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. Favorite character moment, but also now that Andrew's had a minute to think about it, Andrew, best character moment at the table for you out of all your experiences.
I completely stopped thinking about it and was just listening to Steve and you talk about Dresden Files and doors that lead to castles. But I will say character deaths are probably one of my favorite things to talk about. If you also enjoy a good character death, go check out our song DM Killed My Character. Just plugging that in right there. But I had a character that I spent so much time like perfecting this character. Like I had the drawing done just right, and it was not 100% min-maxy, but it was kind of min-maxy. And I was like, this is gonna be the most fun ever. We got playing for probably maybe 2 sessions. I don't know that we'd even gotten into more than like a small skirmish. And I had him planned out like multiple levels. I think I had him planned out like every move all the way up to like 10th level or something like that. We get captured by some guards for trying to like set some slaves free or something, and we hadn't actually done anything. Dude, I got a character killed off screen in between sessions, just like straight up executed in between game sessions. And I think I'm tearing up a little bit right now just thinking about it. But
like
maybe
you didn't even get to sit there and be like, let me fight and have the satisfaction. It was like your character is just gone.
Yeah. Just like he, spent the night in jail, apparently got woken up and beheaded before even got a chance to try and, escape or anything.
I thought you were going to say, I got really attached to this character, but it was Traveler. And then on my last roll, he died. Had him totally planned out, but that's worse. What you just described is worse than that. And so, love it. Love a great death, but look at the great music now that it's inspired also too.
That's
right. Steve, how about you? Favorite character moment of life or death?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do, this same DM, same game. I had this rat folk guy that told everyone that he was a king, even though he was just a lowly street trash person.
I have to correct you, Steve. That was a different game because I was DMing this one.
Were you?
Yeah, I killed that rat.
I killed that rat. Yeah, so same thing. Like, so we had not same thing. We had some airships that we had stolen, and then we were taking on this white dragon. And I decided I was just going to go head on with this white dragon with an airship. And I was like, who's coming with me? And like one other person at the table was like, let's do it. Let's go. And then got in the airship. I was ready to start blasting out some spells when the whole ship got frozen by the frozen breath of this white dragon. My character plummeted from a mile up or something as he was frozen, and then insta-death shattered when he hit the ground, frozen by a white dragon.
So it wasn't even there for like 2 ages later for another party where you're playing a different character to dig you out. And be like,
no, I mean, maybe you could get a shard and bring it to like a resurrectionist or something.
Pay
I don't know.
Extra for that.
Rest in pieces, rat.
Chat out there watching either live right now, if you're watching later over on YouTube, let us know your favorite character death down in the chat. We want to hear the stories. We want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. If you know a better story than your own, also too, steal it. None of us will know. It's the best way to go. But y'all do it. So we talked about y'all do a lot again, and you're combining a lot of different and unique skills into the work that y'all do in content creation in this project. I remember when y'all first got started, and a lot of people were asking the question like, okay, so hip hop and D&D, is this going to be good at all? And I remember like I was aware of the work that y'all were doing, but it was actually one of the board game groups. People were like super skeptical, but like people like were very excited once they actually got on, listened to the music. But what was kind of the kernel inspiration for like, hey, we want to combine like hip hop with Dungeons and Dragons?
I'll say this was I'll say it was Andrew's idea. Andrew brought me in. So I'll say I played like music my whole life, right? Like, and I've always loved hip hop, but I've almost always been in punk rock bands or like garage rock, punk, like hybrid. Like my last several bands have been more like 70s style punk, like Stooges, like Richard Hell style stuff. But when we got into hip hop, I'll let Andrew talk about how he wanted to like get in this with me, but I've always been to hip hop for one, but then it became a weekly get together music project. And we also do this project with Rob, Andrew's sibling, and Rob played bass in my previous band as well. So me and Rob had already been playing music together. And then we got together on like a weekly basis just to like make beats and write lyrics together. And it was just start off just as a fun project to just do more stuff together.
That's cool. And like what like I said, I had heard about y'all guys, had checked out one of your earlier projects, some of your releases. What do y'all feel like the initial response was when y'all started putting stuff out there? Do you feel like there are people who were like, yes, finally, this is everything I've been waiting for? Or was it like, do you feel like you had to win people over? Like what was kind of the initial response from your perspective? Because I'm always very like, this is not just because it's hip hop, right? But like, as somebody who like, I make beard balm inspired by TTRPG stuff.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we're just like, here's the two things I love, and I'm going to put chocolate in my peanut butter, like, and find my people. Like what was kind of y'all's experience kind of launching this out for the world initially?
I'll let Andrew answer this, but I just want to throw out before that, like D&D and metal or heavy metal, like, is where everyone knows it lives.
That's
even
like
in
what everybody
Stranger
goes
Things.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, like Dungeon Crawl, Gygax. There's a bunch of bands that are like D&D inspired metal, but I'd say there are very much fewer, like in the hip hop space. But go on, Andrew.
Yeah, well, I mean, what Steve just said is a big reason why I wanted to do something in a more hip hop sort of space. But I had been sort of dabbling in doing performance art, and I had done a couple of like real brief, like 5 or 6 minute like hip hop like music performances around town in Atlanta, and I felt like they were, you know, I was like, oh, I'm okay at coming up with words that rhyme and saying them out loud in a microphone with, you know, a beat behind me. So I was emboldened by confidence that probably should not have emboldened me as much as it did, but I was really driven to do something that was musical and not just like Steve had been doing. The reason I went to Steve is because he'd been doing this his whole musical career, is putting Dungeons and Dragons into the music that he was creating. I'd also played in a bunch of bands. I'd done other musical things, and started, you know, with doing a little bit of performative hip hop. And I wanted to do something that was its own unique thing, and then also entirely dedicated to the hobby, not just like kind of, you know, like there's a lot of nerdcore rappers that will have like a line or two about role playing, and I always get like, oh, I'm excited about that one line, you know.
I'm living for that one line.
Yeah. And I was like, what if that's like, that was all of it. It was like everything was that, like, we can create that much content. There's enough to talk about. So does that answer the question? I don't know. That was kind of like where it started from, you know?
Yeah. And we both want to make sure it's fun and funny. So hip hop is much more lyrically oriented than metal or, you know, death metal, where it's like, rah, 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 you know, you're not going to have a hard time enunciating that.
Yeah. I
feel
like
Andrew and
I feel like
both
for
separately
metal
have,
go ahead.
Sorry. Well, me and Andrew both separately also have a background in improv and comedy before we even came into this. So the other thing is, like, every one of these songs we want to be fun, hit like buttons if you play the game, but also be, you know, weird and ridiculous and make you laugh, whether you're initiated or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I just feel like metal is what you listen to before you play your session or in the background of your session, right? It's not, it's going to potentially inspire, create tone, create setting, but it's not necessarily going to lyrically process like, oh, here's, you know, the thing, like it's going to pull in some of like the epic feel that you might desire, that driving beat, but it's not going to necessarily tell an explicit story or be able to hit like a couple of different meta levels that you can hit when you're doing hip hop, or you can be very grounded and here's the narrative, pull back to the player, like throw something over here. Like there's a lot of different places that you can go, and you can go there quickly with a musical style like hip hop, and you can't do the same thing with metal. Some of those just you wouldn't be able to do really at all. The metal song about GM prep is probably not the metal song that anybody is particularly like. That's my jam.
Yeah.
And so and for whoever out there is like, I wrote that song, I apologize, because you obviously just tuned in as soon as I said that. But no, like I think there's a whole lot of different places that y'all are able to go in this. This project specifically though, y'all have actually made it both like it is a compact disc, which, hey, if anybody's like CDs, like, look, CDs are still the most gifted musical item every single Christmas. Like everybody still buys CDs, even if you're just getting them to get the digital content off of them. People still do it. It's still a thing. But you also have the mini dungeon crawl that goes with it. So tell us a little bit about this specific project, the Armor Classy CD dungeon.
Sure. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is exactly that. It's a futuristic laser engraved discus.
Yeah, go listen with lasers, you sci-fi heads.
Yeah. No. You put it into a futuristic disc man, and it plays the music. The whole album is actually if you don't want like more stuff, the whole album is streaming on everywhere that you can stream music. So you don't have to buy it. I mean,
wait, y'all are just giving stuff away for free?
We give everything. Yeah, we just give everything away.
With the exception of this, though, this is going to be a physical item, which is the whole idea behind it, is to make something physical that
Tony,
won't just be available everywhere.
If it didn't cost me money to produce it, I would give it away for free. Yeah. So it costs money to make it, so give us some money and we'll give it to you. But as far as like what's like kind of under the hood of this project specifically, I want to talk a little bit about the House on the Rock. Do you know what the House on the Rock is?
The attraction of the House on the Rock? Is that
let's call it an attraction.
I mean, let's even if American Gods hadn't premiered as a mega production recently, we were talking about certain intellectual properties and book series. Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors. American Gods is one of my favorite books by him, and so once I learned about it through that book, I got super into House of the Rock, and it is a place we desperately want to visit one day as me and my wife, at least. I don't know if my kids want to go there. I do.
It is a different experience being there as opposed to looking at photos. It is wild.
Yeah.
Also, if you go plan on the whole day, don't get there late. Kids will also dig it, but their legs might get tired.
Yeah.
So kind of like you, I'm a huge fan of American Gods. I haven't watched all of the show yet, but
that's fine. You're okay.
I did start watching, but I love the book, and as such, I really wanted to visit two of the most important places in America. And my wife took me on a trip to Lookout Mountain, which I'd been there as a child, but I'd forgotten.
Which is in Tennessee.
It's in Chattanooga. It's like kind of like right on the border of Georgia and Tennessee. I think it's technically in Tennessee though. Yeah. Have you been to that one, Tony?
One of my business partners for a long time now lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so I've been to visit him a number of times, and I have only driven up part of the way. I've never been all the way to the top. But they did the last.
Oh, so you haven't met the gnomes?
I have not met the gnomes.
Having read that, after I read that book, which was maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I read it for the first time, my brother Rob, who we keep mentioning, they said you have to read this book. I was a huge fan of Sandman and a lot of other stuff that Neil Gaiman had written, and I was like, all right, now I need to go to these two places. So my wife took me there, and then Steve had already been to House on the Rock. But when we were up in that part of Madison, thank you, for Game Hole, we added on a day so that we could go check out.
I needed to drag him there.
Yeah. And just like, once again, mind blown, a flood of inspiration. This place is amazing. I don't even know how to really describe the 1950s version of Meow Wolf. It's it's nuts. It's just crazy cool. And we'd already kind of decided that we wanted to do an adventure, and that was each room of the adventure related to a song. And then we went to House on the Rock, and it was like, okay, this is what it's about. So each track of the album relates to a room in the dungeon that also relates to an element of the sort of insanity that is House on the Rock. So that's sort of what's behind it. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, or sort of keep it shrouded in mystery, Steve.
I'll say the actual adventure is you're invited to a swanky party to go and search for the DMG Codex. But first you have to go through this funhouse madness, space age bachelor party dungeon to get there. So you'll end up fighting potentially Tengu ninjas and dapper Minotaur cocktail parties, or maybe some liches resetting traps, goblins playing with eldritch music machines, There's a whole lot of things going on in there. And so if you can make it through there, you could be rewarded with this prize. Andrew and I had also gone through all of Castle Amber using Hyperborea RPG last year. So we were also in this kind of like Gonzo, Clark Ashton Smith, mayhem dungeon idea.
Yeah.
So like the actual book itself is going to be like the book you would get, a square in a CD, but inside of it will be the map that Andrew has drawn, additional illustrations to go along with what I wrote for these.
Oh yeah, can we leak some intel?
We love a scoop. We love a scoop.
Okay. Late breaking news, everyone. So I love those little BB dots. So we're really excited. Our dear friend Ambrose Horleman is going to be doing another illustration for the book. So Ambrose did the cover art, or part of the cover art for the album, and he's part of the same gaming group that ended up I think he was with us when
you might have even been there for those games, but you might know Ambrose work from 2C Gaming, Green Ronin. I think he did some stuff for a bunch of RPG books he's illustrated for the last decade. So
cool, love it. No, it looks like a blast. I popped it up next to us on the stream. I've showed it off a couple times, but I want people to get a little bit of a sense. And I should have asked you just in advance, like, give me some tracks so I can make it intro, outro, whatever you have, even if it was previous stuff. But we're going to show people the video because I want people to get a little sense of,
all right,
of some of the sound, some of what they're getting into. So we're going to check it out real quick. Here we go.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm Steve Albertson, the Dragon Warrior.
And I'm Andrew Belluri, the Tiger Wizard. We're very excited to be coming together from our different cities to make something explosive for you.
T-Wizzy, you ready?
Absolutely, Dragon Warrior.
Looks like our high five turned our album Armor Classy into a technologically advanced compact disc.
Plus, there's a mini adventure dungeon crawl booklet and map included with the disc.
Ugh, Tiger, are you okay, man?
Oh, whatever, I'm fine. It's 10 tracks of Dungeons and Dragons hip hop plus a super fun adventure for you to play at your table.
Lousy low HP wizards.
I think the real question is, when did y'all learn to turn into animated creatures, and what kind of intensive training did that take?
Have you seen Cool World?
Exactly the same story.
Yeah, same exact story.
No, I've been, like I said, super excited about the project, and always like super good to see y'all diving into new stuff. Y'all, you've got a couple of days left to go, right towards the end of the project. Y'all are funded. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks to everyone who contributed.
And not like, I always tell people, like, funding is great. The worst thing is just funding. So y'all have got up about 3 times your goal. So you're going to be able to get it out into the world. And like you mentioned, people can head on over and listen to some of it, check more of it out. Over at tinyurl.com/epiclevels-ac, or just search Epic Levels on Kickstarter. We've also got a link down below to the project specifically. But again, y'all, this is not your first time collaborating. Y'all have done a lot of other stuff. Y'all do the podcast on a regular basis. You put out other stuff. What are some of the things that y'all are it's the beginning of 2023, right? And so you've got this project you'll be getting out to the world over the next little bit. What are some of the things that are coming for Epic Levels? What are y'all looking forward to in 2023?
Hell yeah, Tony.
Hell yeah, Tony.
Hell yeah, Tony. First off, season 2 is coming up. Like,
first episode, podcast, by the way.
Yeah, the podcast.
Season 2 of the Epic Levels Mad Dungeon podcast, to be clear.
So I think the first episode of that is going to drop in
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I think.
Yes, season 2 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really excited about that. it's a new format for the show, and the thing that we're really excited about is that because of how we've structured this new season, we will be able to have more guests on, so more TTRPG guests on the show, and more content to share with people for free for your game. So we're really excited about that. And then we've got a couple new songs that are dropping this year to round out the what do we call it? An EP. Steve?
That's right. We will call it an EP. So it'll be a
for electronic pizza.
That's right. Electronic pizza, not extended play. But so we'll drop that this year, 5-song EP. But me and Andrew are also in the very beginnings of more projects that we'll be prepping for 2024, probably music-wise. But this Kickstarter is the Kickstarter not just for this project, but it is the Kickstarter for Epic Levels Kickstarters. And so me and Andrew have also been putting together our plans for our future releases, as far as adventure books, a couple core rule book things, and then an omnibus for all of season 1. So we have 23 maps that we did with people all across the RPG community, from Giogu, Naguera to Ginny Loveday. So we'll be on Ginny Loveday's show tomorrow night, actually. Hey. So if you want to go check out Ginny and us, we're going to go make something with her. But we made a fun Sword Art Island map with her. But all sorts of people. So we're going to put together a bigger book with all of our adventures by the end of the year. So we have a whole bunch of plans that we've scheduled out. It's just a matter of putting it all together. We do a lot of things.
Awesome. And like we're gonna charge money for that one. That's another one of those ones that you're gonna have to pay for. But I just want to assure you that I am still going to like continue to put out free stuff. So like the little free handout maps, we're still going to do those, the little postcard maps and little mini adventures. Like we're going to keep doing all the free stuff. We're just adding a few things that are like, nicer artifacts.
If you want it all in the same space and print it out well and not just on your home printer, because anybody can get all that free stuff and print it out on their home printer.
Some of those maps are available at Exalted Funeral and our website as well, where we did hire an artist to do a backside for a poster, and on the other side is the actual map illustrated by Andrew. So we'll continue putting those out throughout the year as well. All these maps are already available for free on our website, but also our Patreon. Andrew is always doing more art, sending that out to our patrons. Also, when we are doing season 2, instead of doing a full giant adventure, we're doing individual rooms that will then combine into something at the end of the year. And so with that, we'll also be releasing those piecemeal as they get done, and we release episodes throughout the year. So you could join the journey and come with us on this ride, as we don't know what it's going to be by the end of it either. So you could participate.
Read along with us in your book. You'll know it's time to turn the page when you hear the chime.
Cha-ching.
Let's talk about a couple of things though. So like it's come up a couple of times, like y'all make your stuff available for free, right? There's obviously commitment there. There's a lot of work that goes into this. I think a lot of people really struggle with that question of like, hey, when do I decide what to charge for something? What do I give away for free? I think within creative fields, that's one of the most kind of like I've had 3 calls today where we have talked about that in some way, shape, or form with different creators who are in the middle of different projects and are like concerned about that. So when y'all are approaching a project, there's this commitment to like being able to share this, which I think we see a lot in the tabletop scene and creative scenes. But for y'all, like, how do you, in conversation with each other individually, like, how do y'all decide, hey, this is a project we want to take bigger, and to do that we need to charge for it? And how do you decide, like, hey, what are we going to give away just because we want the community to have it? How do y'all kind of come up with those decisions and make those choices?
It's kind of a case by case basis, I would say. Some of the things that we give away, I feel like we're kind of giving them away like a drug dealer, and that it's like, yeah, this one's free, like come back later, when you want some more. But I think that obviously, like the bigger things, it's like it costs something to make a physical object. It's like, yeah, of course, like we're gonna have to charge for that.
That's what I was going to say too. Like if we're paying for it, then we're going to charge for it.
Yeah,
like
but
our
if it's like
time
something
is worth something too, but like
if it's something that we can share digitally and and we're proud of it and we want people to like be able to enjoy it and play with it or listen to it, like for the most part, like that's we're just gonna put it out there. So
yeah, and there's nothing that makes us happier than when we hear that someone actually used one of these maps that we made and they had a good time.
Oh yeah,
like I remember right off the bat, like we put out our first episode with Anthony Maloro of Mystic Punks, and it was hashtag cancel Satan. And there was someone on like Reddit who's like, we didn't have everyone show up for our regular group, so I decided to throw this map on. And it was super fun having everyone decide that they're going to play like necromance, gothic, Catholic schoolgirls and try to catch Satan up with loving kittens. I mean, I love that sort of thing.
A positive interaction on Reddit, man. That's y'all are transcending.
Few and far between, yeah.
No, I love that. And then, I think the other big question is y'all have found a really unique way to leverage different skills and the different mix of skills y'all have. For somebody out there who's like, who maybe like, I don't feel like these two, the thing I love fits in with D&D, like y'all have mentioned how you kind of just constantly brought those two passions together. Do you have maybe any encouragement or any insight from trying it, succeeding, failing, any of those things to give people who are like, I have this thing I love that seems tangential to D&D, but I don't know how to, or tabletop RPGs, but I don't know how to bring it in. Like any advice you might give them or thoughts you might have for them based on your own experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think I draw a lot of inspiration for the stuff that I create from sort of like everyday interactions. And that's a little bit off of what you were saying, but like if you can like look through a pair of like role-playing game colored glasses at anything that you love, it's going to inspire you in some way. So like, for example, when we were at the House on the Rock, it's so cool on its own that it doesn't really need to be gamified. But I'm just looking at everything from the perspective of like, I want to be creating game stuff. I want to be creating role-playing game stuff. And so you just start to see it that way. So I guess if that was to be like sort of flipped around and turned into advice, I guess the advice would be like, try to look at, everything that you love, or look at the thing that you love from the perspective of, a game. Or
also make something that you'd want to play. Like, I think that's a good way to think about it as well.
Yeah, that's a good way. But
I actually,
don't listen to any of that stuff I said. Just listen to the things Steve said. That's
it's the same thing. It's the same stuff. What I'm saying, but I'd also put the caveat, the little asterisk, is me and Andrew, outside of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, had these entire creative artistic lives before this, right? Like Andrew is a fine artist. He was on the board of lots of art galleries in Atlanta. He helped found Mint Gallery, which is a big gallery in Atlanta. He's fine craft his design sense well before I ever met him. I am a writer. Like first, I have a film degree. I have a screenwriting degree. And then like I played music my whole life. I also do graphic design and film editing and things like this. So having these like skill sets combined and then using them in conjunction with each other is a big part of what makes things work. The other thing is it's not just me and Andrew. We bring in Rob, who also is a videographer, a great musician, has a great ear for things, and will bounce things off of them all the time. We also have Zach Cowan, who produces the podcast, who also does live audio for feature films for a living. So he also has that ear. And so one of my best advice that someone gave to me is to surround yourself with people who are better than you at the things you want to do. And then they're going to help you become better at everything. Like when I first started like a band when I was like 18, I didn't play any instrument. I was like, I want to sing in a band. And then just through being in like rooms with people, I learned to play a ton of different instruments poorly. But like, I didn't do it through like lessons. I just did it through osmosis. Yeah. So same thing, hang around people that are better than you at the thing you want to do, and it'll make you better and strive to be better.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think we've seen a lot in the last couple of years, especially as people gravitated in online communities and other stuff like that. And there's been a significant renaissance in like tabletop role-playing games. Like we've seen like zine and indie culture dramatically transform, sometimes in very healthy ways, sometimes in very unhealthy ways. We're kind of coming back to an equilibrium right now. But the best thing has been like the creative groups that have sprung up, where it's just people working together, playing each other's games online, in person, whatever made the most sense. And getting to figure out what you're good at, what you're bad at. Just permission to, like, I love what you said. Like, I learned to play a lot of instruments, like, badly. Like, just permission to be learning and be bad at something for a little while, I think is also just, like, super helpful. Like, as long as you're having fun, enjoying that process, like, there's value in that just in and of itself. But, you know, I think more and more people are learning, like, hey, here's the thing. Like everybody right now is like, hey, I need to be a games designer to be part of the game industry, rather than embracing like, yeah, but like what type of designer and what are you good at designing? Like, are you good at writing adventures? Are you good at words? Are you good at art? Like, are you
Mechanics,
a systems person or mechanics person? Are you somebody who's just like really great at helping embody NPCs and thinking about the things that people actually say in a game? Like there's all kinds of different types of writing. And the more collaborative we can be in some of those things, I just think it's incredibly huge. So, like, I love seeing the way that's embodied in y'all's work, not just with your relationships with each other, but also bringing in those other names, those other voices, and just honing the things that you're good at consistently, while saying, like, I'm going to learn about other stuff, but like we've got people who do that, who are excellent at that, and I'm going to learn from them on a regular basis about what we're doing. And so, no, I love it. So we do have a link to the project in the show notes, as well as underneath both of y'all's beautiful faces. So if people want to go to check that out, you can go to It's too small on my screen for me to easily read, but it's probably ttrpg.link /epiclevelsks or something along those lines. But again, just click on the show notes. It's linked there. You don't even have to type something if you want to. But we do have a double stream day today. We're going to be back tonight with Jarrett Crater of
Jarrett Crater,
one of our favorite collaborators, previously of Exalted Funeral, now of Space Penguin Inc. We're very, very excited to be partnered up with Jared tonight to talk about you've made a game, now what? We're going to talk about basically how you go from the idea of your game in drafts into print and publication, questions you should be asking yourself about why you're doing that, different print pathways and the challenges you might face as you're setting that out. This is going to be the first part of our Zine Month coverage. Zine Month is an annual event that happens in February every year, coincides with Zine Quest on Kickstarter, Tabletop Nonstop over on Crowdfunder. But it's just a time for people to come together and release small zine weight RPG projects. But we do a lot of different educational pieces as part of that. So this is going to be basically how you go from the idea of a game to publication in about an hour. So come back tonight and learn more about that if you want to. You can find all of the different things we're doing over at ttrpg.link /Z23 for Zine Month 23. Right now that links to our Twitch channel. Later on it'll go straight to the playlist for all the different educational pieces we're doing over the course of this month. So hope you're able to join us live tonight to ask your questions, but if you're not, you can catch it over on YouTube after the fact. Y'all, thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate y'all reaching out, for being here, all the work that you do in the community to kind of help showcase different things, but also to create really cool shirts and music and podcast and art and adventures. Hopefully we'll have you all back on to come play some of the adventure at some point in the future. Come run it with us and for us. We love being able to, in addition to talking people, if I don't just get to talk to people about what the work they do, my other favorite thing to do, believe it or not, is just to play games with those people. It seems weird, I know, but we actually just love that. So this has been Prestige Class with Andrew and Steve from Epic Levels. And until next time, class is dismissed.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye, guys. Thank you much.
Thank you.